Saiyans in space again, and why is that a surprise? Well, it's a little bit of a surprise for Gine. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now this next part of this story has been a long time coming for many people in particular because it's been at least a couple of months. Usually, what ifs are like kind of going up and down in terms of interest amongst you, but there's been one story that has been consistently raved about throughout the entire community of this channel. In fact, it's second only to the What If Raditz Turn Good story in terms of popularity, recognition, and just general love. For such a simple change, it made waves for every single Saiyan throughout the entirety of Dragon Ball. It removed any kind of mystery towards the Saiyan race, as well as omitting the iconic name that is Goku, because it wasn't necessary. I'm talking about, of course, what if Gine went with Goku to Earth? What might have happened had Gine, the mother of Goku, actually escaped, albeit accidentally, and was able to raise him alongside Grandpa Gohan? Peril, when it came to any kind of danger on Earth, wasn't really a factor. It was kind of moot, because when things got really tough, say when King Piccolo arrived and became the first real earth-shattering baddie to ever befall Dragon Ball, Gine would have to step up and take hold and show that really, she could have dominated right from the very beginning. She also realised that she could actually do stuff, because back on planet Vegeta, she was pretty weak, especially for a Saiyan, but here, on Earth, she ended up being the world's strongest. It gave her a sense of confidence, and it allowed her to really kind of sort of embrace the idea that she'd have to be protecting Earth instead of just trying to hide on it. And it also meant that she got to bond and train with her son, which pleased them both greatly. After 4 parts, we've got to the point where they've managed to defeat Vegeta, and he's been running home with his tail between his legs because he managed to keep his tail, because he never even got to become Uzaru, he got beaten down that much. That was thanks to all the extra training that Kakarot managed to do on King Kai's planet, as well as all the other stuff that he managed to get to do with Gine. Despite showing that 2 low-class Saiyans could beat the Prince of all Saiyans, Gine thought at that point it was the best time to kind of take a step back, you know, and just give everything to Kakarot, her son, and she could just start to retire and live the peaceful life again. Her job was done, but it didn't go down well with her son at all. He really didn't know anything else apart from, you know, his mother fighting with him, and not having that is a massive traumatic shock. And yes, I know, she's still in her prime when it comes to her age because Saiyans don't age the same as humans do, but in her mind, she's kinda done. But what saved Gine from retiring at this particular moment is the fact that everybody's getting in on it, and she's truly getting herself included in the family. Everyone's bonding together through the same common cause, and that really pleases her. It makes her feel wanted. Gohan and Chi-Chi are training with them as well, and for the first time in what seems like forever, she genuinely has a family. Planet Vegeta was a distant memory, but what wasn't a distant memory was the fact that they got to fix the problem of not having any Dragon Balls because young Kami got bested by Nappa. So there is a reason to go to Namek after all, so that whole chestnut is still being done. And we've still got to deal with Tenshinhan and Chaozu. As I touched upon in the previous part, the gang that goes to Namek is the same as it was in the original story, with the extra addition of Chi-Chi and Yamcha because they are around, and Chi-Chi's more inclined to be with Gohan to really make sure that they get to train together, as well as making sure that he actually does his studying. As for Yamcha, well, he wants to fight too because Gine is just really good motivator like that and they trained well together, and also it means he can be close with Bulma, which could have major ramifications later on, but for now, it's cute, they get to stay together, which is nice. Initially, Gine didn't want to go into space because it just reminded of all the bad memories of going around the stars, conquering planets before she then became a cook. But Kakarot is able to convince her to just say, "Oh, come on, one last time, for all time's sake, you know? I really want you here." And besides, Dr. Brief says that they can get there in 6 days, do what they need to do, and come back. It's only for a couple of weeks, right? It is a training session, and sometimes they are fun with her son. In fact, nearly all the time they're fun, so alright, because it's you. She resolves her initial grievances and then goes along for the ride. Meanwhile, Vegeta returns to Frieza Planet 79 with his tail between his legs, as I said before, and he then recovers, as he does in the original story, and by the time he does, he finds out that Frieza is very displeased for the fact that he disobeyed any kind of orders and regulations that he'd given him, But at the same time, after finding out what happened on Earth and the fact that he came back defeated, it does make him feel very entertained. It does please the Emperor greatly. And then when Qui finds him and realizes that he still has his tail and that he didn't even get to go to his monkey form and he got beaten before he got the chance to do so, oh, that's just a riot. But Qui does deliver a message from Frieza and tells Vegeta, "Don't you leave the planet, you filthy monkey, because I want to come and talk to you." However, Vegeta has no intention of sticking around because somehow, much like in the original story, Vegeta managed to gain the ability to sense ki. It's a little bit rusty, he hasn't got the hang of it yet, as seen in the Namek saga. He's a little bit rusty with it, he still sometimes needs a scouter, but he's getting it. He knows enough that there's something going on, some kind of power which is very, very familiar, moving in space, which seems a little odd. He can't tell who it is, but the overall signature, it reminds him of that little scout party back on Earth. When Qui takes his leave, Vegeta then finds an escape pod and then goes off in hot pursuit of Gohan, Bulma, Chi-Chi, Yamcha and the others. He's thinking that now he's had his little Zenkai boost, he'd be able to beat down those twerps for sure, because surely they wouldn't have been able to get much stronger in that short space of time, right? Knowing that this whole transgression could mean certain death for him, Vegeta is very careful to make sure that his power is suppressed, so that means no one on the Scouters will be able to see that it's him. It could at least buy him some time. And one important thing to note here is that Frieza and his forces aren't aware of the Dragon Balls just yet, so it means that at the moment, by the time the gang arrive on Namek, it's still a very peaceful place. By the time the gang arrive, they have, unbeknownst to them, a couple of days head start on Vegeta, so it means they can get started. They start off by going to nearby villages where they can sense Dragon Balls, and the gang and the families and the culture of all of Namek are a little bit more inclined to give Dragon Balls to these people because they don't look like a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. With Gohan and Krillin making one team, and Chi-Chi and Yamcha making the other, the two pairs are able to successfully gather Dragon Balls through polite requests, and saying, "Don't worry, we're not going to be doing anything bad." All the while, Bulma is setting up camp in a nearby cave, as is in the original story. They still need to go and get the Dragon Ball from Lord Guru, who does unlock everybody's potential while he's there, because, you know, he's a nice guy like that, at least in the original canon. Meanwhile, Gine and Kakarot have taken off and they're starting to train in intense gravity, and they're struggling at first. Initially, Gine had the upper hand because, coming from planet Vegeta, she was somewhat used to the 10 times gravity, but when the gravity starts to increase, the gap between the two starts to erode. By the time they start to train in the 100 times Earth gravity, they're kind of level pegging in terms of ability. It does mean that Kakarot has a genuinely good training partner, and it means that the training that they are able to do in those 6 days is very effective. In the original story, there was a 9 times multiplier from the moment that Goku left original planet Earth to then when he arrives on Namek when he fights the Ginyu Force. Here, I think it's going to be like an 11 times multiplier. All of these numbers coming from the multiple Daizenshuu as well as the Tree of Might movie pamphlet from back in the day. Kakarot could essentially beat the entirety of the Ginyu Force in his base form alone. Forget about Kaioken. All the while, Gine has been trying to come to terms with her place in the universe. Initially, she started off as a little scout working with Bardock, and then when she found out that she wasn't no good at that and she was derided for it, she became a cook, and that's all she thought she would be. But how things have changed in just a short couple of decades. Stronger than most Saiyans, in fact stronger than King Vegeta now at this point. The two of them, low-class Saiyans, have beaten the odds. Bardock could never have hoped to dream of this kind of power, and here's them, both of them. Kakarot with a power level of 2 at birth, her with a power level of 500 and destined to become a chef. Now they are having powers almost in the 6-figure sum. Her thoughts then also turn to Raditz, her eldest son. What is he up to now? Back in part 3, we talk about the fact that Raditz and Gine meet up back on Earth, and he goes off into the stars to try and find his own place in the universe, away from the Frieza Force. She keeps thinking about Raditz and hopes that he's okay, but one thing's for sure, she's glad that he's away from Frieza. One thing that Kakarot wanted to try and do while they were training is show to Gine the power of Kaioken, and hopefully she'd be able to do it too because, like him, she's a Saiyan, and therefore she might be able to use the power as well. Gine tries to understand the Kaioken and learn the basic principles of it, but the problem is that they don't have enough time for her to be able to use it effectively and reliably. Kakarot had up to almost a year to be able to try and figure it out, whereas Gine has maybe just a few days. it doesn't work like that, and I don't think Kakarot realizes this until Gine has to point it out. She does promise Kakarot that they will try and figure it out once they get home. Back on Namek, the gang are able to summon Purunga, the Dragon of Namek, thanks to the help of Dende, a young Namekian which was charged by the elder Mori to just help each other out and make sure that relations between all the other villages are even smoother. Purunga is summoned and says that they have 3 wishes, which is a pleasant surprise for the Earth crew. They thought they'd only get 1. The dragon does point out that he can only bring back 1 person at a time. First off, let's wish back Kami. Kami is then revived back on Earth, and therefore the Dragon Balls of Earth are revived too. They are reset. From there, they debate whether they should bring Kami to Namek, but then Yamcha points out that, are they sure they should do that? Because that would mean that the Earth is relatively defenseless, and also, they need to bring back Tenshinhan and Chaozu, so if they got 3 wishes, then they can do that. That is very true. So therefore, with the 2 remaining wishes, they wish back Tenshinhan and Chaozu. They can use the now revived Dragon Balls to wish anyone back that was killed by Vegeta and Nappa. With that, the dragon dissipates and the gang are about to take their leave, their job done. But, uh-oh. They've got to tackle the fact that Vegeta is right there, pissed off and ready for round 2. Frieza then gets word that sure enough, Vegeta did leave the planet and has taken a pod away to some kind of godforsaken planet. This annoys Frieza greatly, but he tries to keep his cool because, no matter, he doesn't feel it's any kind of a concern for him to go out there himself. So, he actually calls the Ginyu Force to go and take care of Vegeta. If he actually ends up to still be alive, he will then do the favour and finish the job himself. He passes the coordinates of Vegeta's escape pod to the Ginyu Force and they then set off for Namek. He also tells Zarbon and Dodoria to follow the Ginyu Force and help up with the cleanup effort because they know that, oh, if they're going to be fighting Vegeta, it's quite clear they're going to be leaving a mess. Also, it's worth trying to find out if that planet is indeed worth something, you know. Waste not, want not. By the time we get to Vegeta accosting the gang, they have no choice but to fight. Sure, their powers have increased thanks to Lord Guru, but Vegeta's managed to increase a little bit more in the same time, so they've not really gained much. The fight begins with Vegeta showing his skills, despite being taken on by 4 people at the same time. Yes, their cumulative power may be better than Vegeta, but Vegeta knows how to divide and conquer. He's seen this before. Oh, people trying to attack me at the same time. Oh, so amateur. In fact, he's actually able to get some hits on the group, which starts to get them worried. Realizing that this can only end badly for them, Krillin then whips out a solar flare and tells everybody to escape back to the cave, hide their power levels, and regroup, and hopefully they can just stay put and just hopefully leave when Vegeta's not looking. Yes, that's true, they're safe now, but they are stuck. If they ever try so much as try and get a little bit off the ground, even in their ship, Vegeta will be able to just come up to them and blast them out of the sky. So now it's a game of cat and mouse, with Vegeta being the very vindictive cat, taking out his rage on village after village, destroying person after person. Where's Kakarot and that Saiyan woman? They're not there. Well, they might turn up sooner or later, so he can actually have his fill with them too. They are a team after all, so they're bound to turn up. That way he can take them all out, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and then go home in time for tea. Or hopefully try and survive. And I think that's where we'll leave things for now. In this story, Planet Namek, sadly, is still the subject of a massive spectacle. It just happens in a slightly different order. Kakarot and Gine are approaching Namek, but the Ginyu Force are too. Who's gonna get there first? And you know what? I'm gonna leave this up to a poll. I'm gonna let you decide who gets to Namek first. Your actions could change the story. Is it Kakarot and Gine? Or is it the Ginyu Force? It's up to you. So what do you guys think? Do you think Gine will go out in a blaze of glory? And how do you think Vegeta's gonna get out of this mess? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!